how do you see Ayurveda as?
It opens room for health gurus and hucksters to take advantage of people.
A holistic form of healing that has its origins in ancient India.
Are they simpler operations? Are you talking about simpler operations?
Is it provable that Ayurveda has any impact, or how do you see Ayurveda as? Like, what is it in context of
See, I
medicine?
think there's two parts to it, right? Let's take the longevity part first and then the science part second. So there are lots of misconceptions associated with Ayurveda. The reasons for misconceptions may be many, but basically, look, Ayurveda has been around for 5,000 years. Modern medicine has been around for 250 years. If Ayurveda did not work 2,000 years ago before we were humans also, it wouldn't have existed, right? But it has existed to the test of time, and there are Ayurvedic formulations that are thousands of years old. Right? There are some newer ones, there are some older ones. So it stood the test of time. I think on the clinical validation and scientific validation, I think you have to understand paradigm, right? So what is paradigm? If you look at the way Western medicine, the way allopathic medicine works, it's problem solution oriented, right? So my grandfather used to give a great example when he compared Ayurveda and allopathy. He said neither is wrong, and there are not so many allopathic doctors who are open to accepting Ayurveda, but he was one of the few Ayurvedic doctors who accepted allopathy. So he said, when he explained to me when I was a kid, he said, assume you're in a village, right? And there is a river that's going through the village. In the summer, the river has no water, but in the monsoon, the river has water. So there are two ways to get the villagers to cross that stream. One way is to have a raft service that helps them cross the stream and go from one side to the other. The other way is to, in a swimming pool or in a well, teach them to swim so they can swim through the village. Now, when you are suffering from a fever, I need to bring the fever down instantaneously. You cannot say that I will have an immunity supplement so that fever doesn't happen the next time. You have to solve the fever now. And that is allopathy. You'll have a paracetamol, bring the fever down. But for the fever to not happen the next time, you will have a Chavanprash or an Amla or an Ashwagandha, an Ayurvedic immunity supplement. So paradigm-wise, actually, problem solution versus root cause solution is very different. And that's why sometimes people get confused and say it doesn't work. Scientific validation and clinical validation, I will accept that a lot of our Ayurvedic formulations don't have the level of clinical validation that allopathy does. And that we need to do more work to get this clinical validation. But all our top ingredients do have clinical validation. So when I say Ashwagandha works for X, Y, and Z, or I say Shilajit works for X, Y, and Z, or I say Chavanprash or Amla works for X, Y, and Z, there are scientific papers that have proved the efficacy of these. Yes, my formulation with 21 ingredients for immunity may not have scientific validation yet. And yes, as an industry, we need to work towards that. But there is a lot of clinical validation towards Ayurvedic ingredients and the ingredients we use. I think there is lots of misconception and lots of rhetoric that for whatever reason has sort of come about that Ayurveda doesn't work. I've been in a meeting where I was pitching to a VC where he said, hey, come on, let's be honest, before we start the meeting, it's voodoo, right? And that kind of stuff, right? And we have to solve that. But 72% of Indian households consume at least one Ayurvedic product every day.
Got it. In the hair growth industry, is there basically I had to change my barber because my previous barber was promoting snake oil. I don't know if it's scientifically verified, etc., etc. So is this prevalent?
So I'll share a little bit of what I saw in Traya's journey, right? In Traya's purview. I came from a family of allopathy doctors where my mother, who was a doctor, always told me as a kid, ये सब quack है. ये सब हम नहीं खाएंगे. However, we were pushed to a situation where nothing in allopathy was working. And when you generally reach that situation where there is no treatment available in allopathy, you look out for alternatives. कि कुछ भी try कर लेते हैं types. That made us personally in our life meet Ayurveda or experience Ayurveda. When we started Traya, we have doctors at Traya, and every customer who comes to Traya gets a doctor assigned. So we have a team of dermats that work. And when we started off, we had to tell the dermatologist that Traya is Ayurveda, allopathy, and food science, which is diet. और आपके साथ एक आयुर्वेदा डॉक्टर भी ये कस्टमर को प्रिस्क्राइब करेगा. Which means on a table, we had to get a dermatologist and an Ayurveda doctor agree to each other which was impossible to do. And because the dermat had the same questions कि मतलब क्या efficacy है इसमें क्या खिला रहे हो क्या जा रहा है. So very early on we had to start doing evidence based studies to convince the dermat कि ये काम करता है और ये safe है. So I remember from the first seed funding that we got, first thing we did was we started a clinical trial. So for the formulations that are at Traya, we have done clinical trials. We've done clinic. Now we are doing a clinical trial, which is very interesting, against the most efficacious molecule, which is minoxidil. So we got data, we got study done, and the studies were done through how the scientific studies are done. It was done through a clinical research company independently. And then when you take an evidence to a doctor and you show them metal testing done, it's safe, it's just this, and this is the evidence, they are very open. Today there is more than 50 dermats at Traya who are okay with this. So I think I hope that more companies invest more money in evidence-based studies for Ayurveda. Of course, for the star ingredients like ashwagandha, etc., like he said, it's all available. But even for the complex formulations, I think all that is missing is some evidence-based research, and then people will understand that there's data to prove that it works.
Friends, if you like this clip, then please go watch the entire episode and also subscribe to the channel for more such clips and episodes. Enjoy your life. Thank you very much.